the Palm Springs project, which we're now calling Butchers Creek, cried out as screaming opportunity. Not only do we start with an already established 357,000 ounce resource base, but there is an abundance of opportunity to see that resource grow.
Hello and welcome back to the Proactive Studio. I'm Tyler Tully, and joining me today is Win Metals Managing Director Steve Norregard to talk us through its acquisition of the Palm Springs Gold Project in the Kimberley region of Western Australia. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Before we get into the acquisition, could you give us a bit of an overview about Win Metals?
Sure. Only 8 weeks ago, Win Metals was actually called Widgie Nickel. Our focus was a nickel sulfide resource base that we've got at Mount Edwards in the Eastern Goldfields of Western Australia. We also have a little bit of lithium. However, both of those commodities are in the doldrums right at the moment. And with that, we have sought to pivot the organisation, firstly changing its names, reflecting our multi-commodity focus. And it's led us to where we are now, which yesterday we announced the acquisition of the Palm Springs Gold Project, which heralds a new direction for the company, whilst we retain our exposure to the battery metals that will sit there in our portfolio for when there will be a resurrection in the value of those commodities.
So let's get into the acquisition. Why the Palm Springs project? What's so good about it?
Tyler, we spent 6 months looking at a whole range of different projects, and the Palm Springs project, which we're now calling Butchers Creek, cried out as screaming opportunity. Not only do we start with an already established 357,000 ounce resource base, but there is an abundance of opportunity to see that resource grow, both looking at the existing resources that have been defined, but also in a greenfields aspect. It's a part of the world that has an abundance of opportunity and has probably been forgotten by and large in more recent times. But for that, it presents a wonderful opportunity for Win shareholders. And indeed, Meteoric, they don't completely divest the project. They'll become a significant shareholder in Win Metals as a result of the transaction. So they'll enjoy the benefits on an ongoing basis. It's really been a win-win for both organisations, I believe.
So what are the terms of the acquisition?
Well, for the 357,000 ounces that we've acquired, total consideration is $5 million. If we wanted to equate that to a value, it's somewhere in the order of about $15 an ounce. I like to look upon the upfront consideration, which comprises $1 million in cash and $1.75 million in script in the company, as being the headline numbers, which obviously translates into a much cheaper transaction. There is some staged payments at the end to conclude the transaction, being $1 million to be paid in 18 months from effectively yesterday, and a bullet payment of $1.25 million upon the production of 20,000 ounces of gold from the project.
You mentioned that Meteoric is going to remain a major shareholder in Win. How important is this for the company?
Well, there's a continuity of ownership, which is an important aspect. We've retained expertise that relates to the project in terms of some of the people involved with the project, and having Meteoric as a major shareholder, obviously we can lean on them in the future should there be a requirement for additional information associated with the project. There is an abundance of opportunity, and for Meteoric, when they acquired the project, which was just prior to COVID hitting, they only effectively completed one field season on the ground and had a phenomenal, great run of announcements, and they'd established a huge amount of momentum. But then COVID hit. Mark McGowan locked down Western Australia. He also locked down the Kimberley within Western Australia, and as a result, Meteoric were faced with the dilemma of not being able to access their project. They went to Brazil, and the project in the Kimberley was left, and ultimately has become their second project. So that was the wonderful opportunity that's presented itself to win, and we've seized that opportunity and look forward to it in this high gold price environment with much anticipation. We've got people on the ground there at the end of next week, and we hope to have a drill rig spinning within a month. So it's exciting times for WIN, definitely.
And just to expand on that further, what's next for WIN? What can we expect?
Well, we've probably, if we can get 6,000 metres of RC drilling into the project prior to Christmas, we'll retreat back and digest that data through the festive season and into the new year. Come back up there with a much more pointed focus after the wet season, a bigger program. We're hopeful that we can spend between $3 and $4 million over the course of the next 12 months on the ground on the project. An abundance of opportunity and an abundance of targets, and my geologists are very, very excited by the prospects that the project holds.
It sounds like very exciting times for WIN. Steve, thank you so much for your time today.
Tyler, thank you very much for the opportunity.